Hey there, my name is John Fisher. Nice to meet you, fellow photog. Um, Thanks for being willing to watch this video and follow certain instructions from your client that they got from me. And I appreciate you being willing to do this because that's a pretty unusual thing for a photographer. I'd be probably pretty insulted if somebody else came to me, hey, can you take my pictures, but here's how I want you to do it. And that's kind of what we're saying, and I apologized for the sense of insult it might be, or I just really do. And I just want to explain myself before I even go into it about why this might be acceptable for you or not, but just why I think it might be. So consider. So this is all about authenticity in the photos, and so I'm not the best photographer in the world, right? But I happen to have dialed into this one particular aspect of a pose photo, capturing authenticity, like to the nth degree, and figured out all the ways of accomplishing it, all the subtleties of it, what the different categories of what that possibly could mean. And my guess is you have a few really good tricks you use. And there's just so much more available than tricks. And I happen to have dialed into that. So like imagine like the person who who figured out how to make better lenses or lighting. They're not necessarily good photographers, but they've done, maybe they're not photographers at all, but they happen to figure out one element of photography that makes it better. And for me, I happen to dial into capturing authenticity when the subject is aware of the camera. And that's, that crazy challenging thing that you have to figure out how to do it, or maybe you don't care. But even if you do, it really hasn't been studied, and there aren't any classes, I think, until this really about how to do it, how to accomplish it. What are the different options you have? And so that's what I have for you. And I have a course on all the various options that there are and how to do it. And it's just one aspect of it. It's not saying I'm a better photographer at all. You're probably a better photographer than me. And it's almost like cool to think of what some of these amazing photographers, if they could only add a little more of this realness, this authenticity, a certain flavor of it to their amazing images. Like, wow. Like, I would like, yeah, for real. So please welcome and accept my input here about just how to add this element to more so, maybe you do it already, but even more so to the photos of this client. And the reason is, so my sense of these things is that a commercial or dating photo, the sense of connection is really key. The person can look at the photo and really get a sense of a real sense of a real peek at a person just by looking at the photo. And for professional reasons, so it could give them just a sense of, oh, I kind of get them. I kind of would, yeah, working with them would be good because I trust them. I feel that I kind of have a sense of who they are just by the photo. And similar for dating, for online dating, how, of course, in that scenario, just getting a sense of who the person really is key. And that's really where I started with this, and how I had to figure out how to get that, because for dating, it's obviously huge to really, for a potential match, to really get a peek at a person. And for commercial purposes, it's similarly huge. Even for basic headshot, for influencers, for their candidates to have a sense of realness. That they're not environmental portraits. They're actually candid photos that you've manufactured, but they're real candidates. But you manufactured them. So that's what I have to offer the photography world, and maybe you might be interested in learning how, just learning all these extra tricks that you would not have thought about, or not even just tricks, but just ways of different possibilities of how you can capture various flavors of real, if you agree that this element is really important. And it's something that's kind of been ignored in our world, just because there hasn't been anybody like me that's just had to dive in and figure it out to that degree, which I had to in making online dating photography according to my work with other experts in the field of how essential it was. And I had to figure out how to accomplish this in all my about 1,000 clients over about 15 years. So I had to figure out, like, to the nth degree, how to capture various sides of somebody and how do you do it. So Anyway, so that's what I have, and there's a course. If you want to purchase it, great. But for now, even for this client, I have just a big request. It's a simple request, but it's a huge request. And from my perspective, the volume of photos is huge. It's because in between the shots, when they're for that moment when they're forgetting about you, right? That's the shot. That's when they're within themselves. They're just being versus focusing on you and doing and trying and performing. The performing, to me, cuts off the sense of, oh yeah, I get the person, but any level of the person being and you happen to capture it works. But you can't anticipate it. It's really the shot between the shot when they're. So my request for you, just on a simple level, is just shoot a lot of photos, and you probably have your own tricks of just getting them to react to something you're saying, like a joke or making some noise. You probably have your own ways of eliciting some kind of reaction. You have your own ways of eliciting various things from your subject. I'm guessing you have some, but on top of that, so I have two requests. On top of doing what you normally do, take way more pictures than you probably normally do. Because to me, the waiting is what kills this opportunity for authenticity. The anticipation of the click kills it. And so if you're just shooting through in a burst mode through just 2 or 3 seconds of an experience, in there somewhere will be that one that's pure and that we want as pure as possible, a real moment of a candid. Okay, so that's one, is just taking burst mode, taking a lot of pictures in succession, in a row, and that's it. And though the real big thing is to have the opportunity for your clients to see a lot of photos, because I'm going to be teaching your client how to look at the photos and how to find the best ones that really work, because it's not really the way you look at photos normally. It's a different thing if you're looking for the ones that move you, that touch you, just like they want their potential client, their potential whoever's looking at it to get a sense of, ooh, I get that person, So it's an emotional reaction versus an analytical mind that often is there with evaluating photos. And I want them to have that opportunity to see that shot between the shot, and if that's the shot that really is the one that is the right one, because often it might be there, but it just might be missed even in the selection process. So that's my two huge requests for you, if you're willing to do this for your client, is just burst mode, lots and lots of photos, way more, and actually giving your client the opportunity to have all the photos, to look at all the photos, just even to see them, for them to be part of the process of evaluating the correct ones would be what I'm asking you. And I know it's a huge, huge ask. If you're interested in this at all, there's some links to some courses below, so you can just get what I get about what I'm even talking about, because I think it could really add, for any photographer, knowing some extra tricks. Even there's some of them that are just tricks, and they're silly tricks, but they're just almost, you would not even think of, just subtle motion. For one thing, one is motion. Just subtle motion often breaks that attention to the camera. And so how do you use motion to break the connection? And I have this other thing called motion posing. So how do you add motion to any pose you have to add the life to it? There's another thing I'm calling first contact, where that instant where a subject is making contact with the camera, there's something in there, there's a spark in there. Oh my, it's like, and it's so fleeting. So, and then there's a way of just helping them feel good about themselves, helping them remember something. There's just so many different ways to get so many different things to get authenticity in your photos. And it's just like, we as photographers never would have I would never have thought of that until I had to figure it out when I was doing online dating as my primary work for about 15 years, because I just there's something I loved about it, and I wanted to make it my industry of how to take the photos, how to sell them, how to market them. Just had to make it my thing, and I did. so so now I have these tools that I think could be really valuable to any photographer, just to have some options. And some things you really need to do in private, they're a little bit, they're just something you're just with you and your client. It's okay to do, but it's not going to be really great to do around other people. And there's some tricks. Hey, can you do that? Oh yeah, can you do that again? And there's even just noticing, being aware of what your subject is doing already, that for a moment they're not noticing you, and if you're not looking for it, you're just missing this opportunity. That level of authenticity is right there. It happened, and you missed it, unless you're looking for it. And then you can say, oh wow, you did that worked, do that again. So there's just a whole world of how to elicit and capture authenticity that somehow I have this little piece of the puzzle. I'm sure you got everything else, and you're a master photographer, you're a master, even you do a good job, you get emotions out of it, but there's more. Whatever you're thinking, there's so much more. You just don't know it, and there's good stuff there. There's opportunities that you just didn't know existed. And I happened to, just because I had to figure it out. So if you're willing, first step, you're just simply willing to do this for your client. It would be a real benefit to your client for them to feel like they're getting what they know, what they know they need. They've been convinced that they need this element of realness to make their professional or dating photo more impactful. And I'm giving them this little way for them to do it with their local photographer, and that's you. And they like you, they trust you, and they're just asking you a favor. Can you just follow this guy's advice, please, just to make sure or try to get what he's saying is so important. So if you're willing, thanks, and thanks for watching this. It was kind of long, but thank you, and guess that's it. Thank you. Take care.